This week we're going to continue working with the C major scale, and what we did last week was to create major triads on the 1, the 4, the 5, and back to the 1 of the C major. All cows eat grass are the letters of the spaces, and great big dogs fight animals are the letters for the lines in bass clef. And when we use do or 1, the first note in the C major scale, to create the 1 chord, we put a C, E, and a G. Fourth note of the scale is an F, C, D, E, F. So we built F, A, and C as the major triad for the 4 chord. And then we put the 5th note or 5th chord, G, B, and D, and back to the 1, C, E, and G. So if you don't have piano music in Note Flight from last week's lesson, with your chords just like this, and if you wanted to put your Roman numerals, you just had to make sure that you had your text tool up in your menu and you light up the bottom note, hit La, and you can start to type in capital 1, capital 1V. You didn't have to do that, but if you have it, it'll look just like this. If your chords are up here, then you need to bring them down here and put C, E, and G, F, A, and C, put them down here. It should look just like this in the bass clef, and it should not have anything in the treble clef. Now, we're going to learn about how we can make a melody that sounds pretty cool that doesn't have, some people might call them wrong notes in it. And I'm going to leave a copy of this in your classroom so that you can play these examples to hear what I'm talking about. If I try to play it on this recording equipment that I'm using right now, it will not sound very good. So you go ahead and you open this up separately and just hit play so you can hear the examples that I'm going to go through. In this first example, I have a melody with only chord tones. There's no passing tone. So a passing tone is a note that's not in the chord, and a chord tone is notes that are in the chord. If we have C, E, and G here, then we can easily use C, E, and G in the melody, and there won't be any, some people might call them wrong notes. They're not wrong, but they cause a tension. They make it sound like you don't really want to sing or whistle along with it. And that's the kind of melody we're looking for, is one that has a nice, comfortable sound to sing or whistle the tune with the pretty harmony underneath. We have F, A, and C in this one, so we can use Fs and Cs and As. We have G, B, and D in the 5th chord, so we can use Gs and Bs and Ds. And remember, that's the high note G because the top is an F. You go up 1 letter, it's a G. And back to C, E, and G. There's an E, a G, and a C. So if you play this example, you're going to hear nice chord tones played in the melody, notes that are in the chord. There's no issue, there's no tension. It doesn't need to be resolved. It'll be comfortable to sing. In this next example, I have put passing tones and chord tones mixed, but it's kind of done improperly. So here we have C, E, and G. There's a C, that's in the chord tone, that's in the chord, so we can use that. But then there's 2 Ds. There's no D here. That when you listen to this, you're going to hear that it does not sound so great. We have F, A, and C. There's an F, but then there's an F sharp. That's going to cause a little bit of tension in the music. A G, B, and D, well, there's no E in that chord, so these notes right here don't sound so great, but it sounds nice when you get back to the G. And C, E, and G. Well, there's an A, so that's not going to sound so good. Sounds nice when you go back to the C, though, because C is in the chord. This is how we're going to try to use passing tones and chord tones properly so that you kind of want to whistle or sing along. It's a nice little melody. It doesn't create a lot of tensions and dissonant sounds, which is what we're talking about when we put a note that's not in the chord. It creates this tension that we call dissonant, and ones that are in the chord create a consonant feeling. All right, so we have C, E, and G. Yep, these black notes, C, E, E, C, those are fine. But now we have some of these non-chord notes in it, which we have to make passing tones, tones that pass by quickly and are resolved quickly. The way to do that is to keep them an 1/8 note or less. Remember, our Hondas, that 1 beam is for the 1 flag, so these are half a beat 1/8 notes here. As long as we keep any note that's not in the chord at a 1/2 note or less, so you could use a 1/16, And two things, we make sure that the note before it and after it are in the chord, then it won't sound so bad. So F, A, and C, those are the chord tones. There's your F, your A, your F. Don't forget when we put a natural sign in front, it makes it an F again. But then we have this G and this F sharp. Those are going to be used as passing tones. We want them to pass by at a half a beat or less, and we want them to have chord tones on either side, before and after. When you play this, you'll know that it has passing tones in it, but you'll hear a nice little melody. They won't hit the ear so hard, shall we say. So this week, you're going to take what you built last week, and if you didn't do it, go back and do so. Get this bass clef chord progression down here in your bass clef. Just copy right from here if you have to, but better to learn the lesson. And then starting on C and ending on C, write a nice little melody. Notice mine is using mostly step, and there's some skip, just like we talked about last year. And every time I decided I wanted to use a note that's not in the chord, I used it as a passing tone, made it an eighth note. I could have done a 16th, as long as I have chord tones on either side. So make yourself a nice little melody and try to make it sound more consonant with passing tones. Don't forget to put some notes in and try it out that are not in the chord itself. Make sure that you make them an eighth note or less, and that the note before and after them are notes that are in the chord. If you email me, make sure you put your team in section. You should find this sheet to help you so that you can review it and actually hit play and see what these different examples sound like. And if you're having any trouble with note flight, please contact me, and I'll give more information in the Google Classroom, and I'll leave this up. But when you make your own song, either go back to the one that you created already, maybe make a copy of it. There's a separate video this week that shows you how to make a copy of your work, or you can make a copy of this and put it in your scores. And then make sure that if you email me because you're having any trouble, that you put the team and section in the email, and see if you can write a nice little melody this week. And hopefully that's everything that'll cover us for the moment. Think that's it. Hope this helps everybody. Please take good care. Missing you.